2 days later that the city finally submitted an application to SHPO. Sherry and I have asked multiple times to be placed on the agenda so that we, along with other residents of the Hill District, could discuss the proposed project with the Commission and hopefully identify some possible alternatives. Unfortunately, no one with the city bothered to telephone us back as was promised. We were instead later advised that we could appear and make comment during the public comment section of the meeting. I learned only yesterday afternoon that the matter had been placed on the agenda for tonight's meeting. While I am pleased that the city's proposed project has finally been placed on the formal agenda, I am unfortunately, due to extremely late notice and other previous commitments, unable to stay for the entirety of tonight's meeting. I therefore respectfully ask that I, along with other residents of the Hill District, be provided with additional opportunity upon timely notice to further discuss our concerns with the Commission. I would thus ask that further discussion of this matter be placed on the agenda for future meetings. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there more comments? Please try and keep your comments to 3 minutes so everyone has the opportunity. So thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Mariah Pokorny, and I'm here tonight to voice my support and stand with my neighbors, the Hill District representatives, in asking the City of Pierre for open and meaningful dialogue around the proposed widening of Elizabeth Street from Euclid to Grand. I want to begin by acknowledging and appreciating that this issue has now been added as a new business. That step matters. It signals a willingness to bring this conversation into a more visible public forum. At the same time, I would respectfully point out that elevating it to this level when it was first raised, particularly when it was discussed at the Historic Preservation Committee in August and September of 2025, could have helped ensure earlier transparency and broader community engagement, not within time constraints. It is important to note that the City of Pierre's portion of this project was not reviewed by SHPO, as the city plans were not available at the time that the state was, despite the proposed impacts within a historic district. Once plans for the city's portion were developed, that would have been an optimal time to engage directly with the homeowners most affected, regardless of the outcome of the forthcoming SHPO review. Over the last several weeks, many residents have taken time to participate in public comment periods. You've heard a consistent message. People who live, work, and invest in our community feel decisions are moving forward without adequate input from those directly affected. That concern is not rooted in opposition for the sake of opposition. It is rooted in a desire to be heard, respected, and included. Infrastructure improvements matter. Safety matters. Mobility matters. But so does the trust between city and its residents. When changes are proposed that affect historic neighborhoods, property, traffic patterns, and daily life, dialogue is not optional, it is essential. Compromise cannot happen without conversation, and conversation cannot happen without inviting the affected community into the process early and honestly. Tonight, I want to be clear, asking for dialogue is not asking the city to abandon progress. It is asking the city to pause long enough to listen, to explore alternatives, to explain goals, constraints, and possibilities openly, and to respect that the people who live along Elizabeth and Grand Avenue are not obstacles to be managed, rather partners for the future of Pierre. The city is strongest when decisions are made with the people, not for them. I stand with my neighbors in urging the City of Pierre to continue this conversation, to seek compromise when possible, and to demonstrate community input matters. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Further comments from anyone? Please come forward and let us know who you are and hi.
Members of the commission. You have a packet in front of you, so you can kind of follow along with my speech if you'd like. My name is Karen Perry. I'm here today as an authorized advocate for a Pierre resident, Christine, who's back behind me here. I'm speaking to you because the city's utility billing department is engaging in predatory billing practices that bypass South Dakota state law, mismanagement government funds, and expose the city to serious liability. I took this issue to the State Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. The state investigator reviewed my complaint and explicitly directed me to this exact room. The state recognized that because you operate a municipal monopoly, the legal jurisdiction to stop these predatory practices rests entirely on your shoulders. You cannot pass the buck. Recently, the billing department threatened to shut off my friend's power in the middle of winter, following her very first billing, which was only for 3 days. This threatened disconnection was based on a chain of deceptive administrative tactics. First, the department engaged in a bait and switch. The city approved a new utility contract for her, accepted it, and physically turned the power on. Only after the new contract was active did the billing department ambush her by an 11-year-old debt to her brand-new ledger. Second, the city is using its monopoly to act as an unregulated collection agency. Under South Dakota state law, an 11-year-old debt is legally time-barred. The city cannot sue for money because a judge would throw it out of court. Because the state closed the courthouse doors, your administrative debt is weaponizing the threat of freezing a resident in her home to extort a zombie debt that is legally uncollectible in the justice system. Third, the city tried to collect a phantom debt that was already waived and explicitly forgave. On February 7th, your own city staff sent an official letter stating that this past balance was forgiven. Yet that debt caused massive confusion and misapplied payments on her active account. Your system even mailed her a bill showing a negative credit balance of minus $6, but still stamped a winter disconnection warning on the bottom of the page. Your system threatened to freeze a woman who legally owed you $0. Fourth, the billing department is hiding state heating assistance off the books. So, in your packet, this is her recent bill, her physical bill, which claims a $49 credit for state energy assistance. But when you look at the ledger, there are no energy assistance. There's nothing there for energy assistance. Every single line records exactly $0.00. Your department is hiding guaranteed state assistance funds, recording $0 in credits on the actual ledger, and then printing automated shutoff notices based on that broken math. Fifth, the city has actively obstructed the dispute and grievance process at every single level. When we physically brought our formal dispute papers into the utility office, city staff flatly refused to date stamp our copies. Furthermore, your front desk staff has repeatedly obstructed my ability to advocate for her. Just today, we discussed third-party authorization. Your staff absolutely had no idea what it was and improperly demanded a power of attorney.
Ma'am, you are over your 3 minutes.
No, am I? Okay. Well,
Yes, but-
okay. You guys have the rest of the speech there. You can read
Well,
it.
go ahead and if
that's
you have to
fine.
wrap it up. I think
So I
there's
would
some
like
others that wanted
the
to.
packet put into on the record, please. And then there are also notes on in your packet that explain a lot of the things that happened during this process. Thank you for your time.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
thank you for coming. Is there anyone else for a public comment period that would like to address the commission? Please come forward and let us know who you are.
Good evening, City Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Sigrid Swanson, and I want to start by thanking you for placing the Elizabeth Street project on today's agenda. This has been a long time coming, and it represents a first step toward what I hope will be open a door to more meaningful discussions and compromise. There are many people who care deeply about this issue who are unable to be here and attend this evening. My own family, we've been navigating deaths, surgeries, ongoing healthcare needs while still trying to stay engaged and represented. I know other neighbors had prior commitments and expressed disappointment that they could not be here to share their perspectives with such short notice as well. My request to the City Council tonight is that there be an opportunity in the near future for public input with adequate notice of that meeting. Over the past year, much of the responsibility has fallen on citizens to track updates, organize, and ensure our collective voices are heard. A more proactive approach from the city would help create a process that is inclusive, transparent, and accessible for everyone affected. Before your discussion today, I'd like to restate some of our concerns. Widening the roadway by removing the bump out and the boulevards may unintentionally encourage more truck and vehicle traffic at higher speeds, making it less safe for pedestrians. This stands in contrast to the Euclid project, where the state intentionally narrowed the roadway and added bump outs, citing these features as improving pedestrian safety. I support city improvements. I also want to ensure that those improvements are grounded in proven safety measures and applied consistently. At the end of the day, I believe we all share the same goal: to find a path forward that reflects the needs and values of the people who live here. I appreciate your consideration in helping make that possible.
All right, thank you. Anyone further that would like to address the commission, please come forward. We've got about 3 minutes left in our 15 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Kump. I'm also a resident of the Pierre Historic District. I also want to start by thanking you for placing the Elizabeth Street project on today's agenda. I look forward to hearing officially what those proposed changes are and why it is deemed necessary. I'm also looking forward to when the Traffic Safety Committee can consider our concerns about Elizabeth Street, which I suspect any widening or addition of lanes may exacerbate the current pattern of traffic there. Whereas if we were to introduce a four-way stop or other features to create a safer environment, might help pedestrians. We are happy to meet with that Traffic Safety Committee, but while the city website says the committee typically meets the first Monday of every other month, that has not been the case. According to the city website, the committee met once in August of last year and once in February of this year, and does not plan to hold another meeting until this summer. This is in stark contrast to the Arbor Board, which has reliably met every month. Now, I'm all for trees, but I'm also all for safety, and I would expect at least some similar level of accommodation. But back to the issue at hand. People interpret the width of a street to indicate the speed at which they should travel, especially in the absence of any speed limit signs, as on Elizabeth. By widening and pulling back the corner of the street, we are removing a visual element that people naturally respond to. Drivers see the misalignment of the street, and it gives them that pause to ensure they slow down and don't hit the curb. Now, do some people not pause and hit the curb? Of course, that's going to happen. But I'd argue it's more effective than ineffective. We don't get rid of speed limit signs just because a few people are ignoring them or not paying attention. When you evaluate this change, please think about the cost being incurred by those residents. That is both safety and monetary. At least one resident is going to have the burden of over $16,000 in costs to relocate their utilities, which, granted, is not a part of the street widening itself. But if that isn't just an inconvenience on its own, they must also deal with this additional lane, the potential for increased traffic, and increased speed. Any perception of this will reduce the home's value as people try to avoid living adjacent to busier traffic patterns. Please make the local residents' concerns, particularly about safety, a priority for you as we continue this discussion. And I ask that you also provide additional meeting time when those that can't attend today will be able to attend and voice their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. That really takes up all our time we had set aside for public comment period, so we will close the public comment portion and bring it back to the commission. There's no special business tonight. Tonight on the consent calendar, we've got the minutes of the regular meeting of March 17, 2026. We've got a new hire in the street department as a maintenance worker of Blaze Iala, setting April 7, 2026 at 5:45 p.m. for a public hearing for the Downs Marina lease agreement, and we have the claims. Is there a motion?
Move approval of the consent calendar.
I second.
A motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Huizinga?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Lursa?
Aye.
Reitzel?
Aye.
Mayor Harding?
Aye, motion carried. There's no unfinished business, so moving on to new business. There's a request to bid the airport parallel taxiway C project, and Nick Waters is here to bring us an update. Welcome,
Yes,
Nick.
Good evening. There is a slide for this as well. So as that gets brought up tonight, I'm requesting authorization to bid the airport parallel taxiway C project. This is also referenced as FAA IIJA number 3-46-044-052-2025. This is a budgeted project for 2026 and will utilize FAA and state funding to construct a partial parallel taxiway to runway 725. It's shown there in the green. That portion will be entirely new construction, which will help to improve future use of the airfield. There is also maintenance planned for the existing taxiway C, which is shown in the blue. That portion will have maintenance work done on it in anticipation of a future project to complete a parallel taxiway to runway 725. Due to FAA rules regarding configurations, the future project would look to reconfigure taxiway C to include a connection at the 1-3 end of runway 1331. So it would cross at the north end. But due to funding, the project has been scoped in these stages. Upon approval, bid information will be published within the next several weeks. There will be a pre-bid meeting on Thursday, April 9th at 11 a.m. at the airport, and bids would be due on Monday, April 20th at 4 p.m. If there are any questions, I can certainly try and address them.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Are there any questions or comments by the commissioners? Commissioner Huizenga.
Thank you, Mayor. So, as you said, Nick, the green portion, it doesn't exist at the current time,
Correct.
and that is new. And for the public, why would we do this at the current time if you're using runway 725 and these numbers don't mean much to just people watching this. If you're going to take off from the east end of runway 725, you have to taxi all the way down. So you're essentially just taxiing on a active runway.
Correct.
And this gets you off of an active runway for the taxi portion of this, or
Project.
if you land from the west and then you've got to taxi back. And so this gets you the tragedy earlier this week at an airport, that was a fire truck crossing an active runway, but
Correct.
we don't want planes out on the runway.
In the current configuration, like you were saying, if you're landing coming from the west and it takes that plane all the way to the east end of runway 725 to stop, they then have to turn around and taxi down that active runway. And there's also some visibility issues that apply there. And so this allows that traffic to exit the runway and allow the runway to remain open for additional traffic.
And the blue portion does exist, but it needs some maintenance.
Correct.
And then ultimately, the green is going to connect to the end of runway 1331. But
Yep.
because of just funding limitations, we're essentially splitting this up into two projects.
Correct.
And that blue portion will still be used as a maintenance road upon completion of, it's going to cease to be a taxiway, but we
Correct.
still have our maintenance crews running it up and down and out there all the time.
Yep. Currently, that crosses the 1331 runway, which FAA, because of safety regulations, now requires those to be at the end of runways rather than at a midpoint in the runway. So a future project would look to extend that green line parallel to 725, and then the existing taxiway C would become a maintenance road. So,
Okay, but this is a 2026 project.
correct. Yep. The bids would be due April 20th, and then we would be looking to begin construction. This would also be contingent on the FAA grants and state grants that obligate those funds, but looking to have construction later this year. Yep.
One bright spot, we've done a lot of construction out at the runway. Thankfully, this is not on a runway. We won't have to shut down a runway to do this project. There may be some temporary NOTAMs out there, but, the work is
lot of
taking
this
place
is-
off
yeah.
the runway
Yeah.
surface. We have rehabbed both runways now, which should take us well into the future on the runways
Correct.
themselves.
Yep, a lot of this, there is some points where it comes in contact with the runway that'll be minor shutdowns, and then we've also factored into our busy season for the year in that construction schedule that's outlined in the plans. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
Further questions or comments by any of the commissioners? All right, thank you, Nick. Hearing none, then we do need to take action. Is there a motion?
I would move to authorize the bid for the airport parallel taxiway C project as presented and authorize the mayor to sign all related documentation.
I second.
Motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Huizenga.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Lorseth.
Aye.
Reitzel.
Aye.
Mayor Harding.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you, Nick. All right, the next item is the wastewater treatment plant redesign project closeout, and Nick Waters again. Nick?
Thank you. Yes, I'm requesting commission approval of the agreement for the wastewater treatment plant redesign project and authorization for the mayor to sign all related documents. The construction project began in 2021 and was halted in 2024 because of a contract dispute. The agreement is less than the contract amount previously approved by the commission, requires contributions from other parties, and allows the city to satisfy funding requirements. So I'm requesting commission approval of the agreement and authorization for the mayor to sign all the closeout documents.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Are there any questions? Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor. Kind of a long road from 21 to here, but I'm glad this is finished up, and I'm glad we have the extra equipment and the things that were needed to get the job done for the guys working out there. Really appreciate you guys finishing this up. Thank you.
Yep, it was a very, very major project and included a lot of stuff on a lot of components at the plant.
Further questions or comments? All right, we do need to take action. Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the wastewater treatment plant redesign project closeout as presented and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Heisinger?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Lursa?
Aye.
Reitzel?
Aye.
Mayor Harding?
Aye, motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, then the next item under new business is the first reading and setting April 7th, 2026 at 5:45 PM for a public hearing for the rezoning in blocks 14 through 16, Greeley and Sharps Addition. And Emmeline Post is there. Welcome, Emmeline.
Thank you. Yes, this property proposed for rezoning is located east of Euclid Avenue on the south side of Fifth Street. There should be a map that should be shown. The parcels in Block 14, which you'll see once the map comes up, will be shown in pink and are currently zoned local business. The parcels in Blocks 15 and 16, which will be shown in yellow, are currently zoned one-family residential District B. Antelmo and Maria Vasquez of Dakota Storm Properties, LLC, have purchased the Fifth Street Mobile Home Court located east of Euclid Avenue. They're proposing to continue the existing use of the property as a mobile home park. Mobile home courts are allowed as a conditional use in the local business district, but not as a permitted use in one-family residential District B. The applicants are requesting that the property be rezoned to one-family residential District D, which allows one-family mobile home courts as a permitted use. The petitioners have obtained signatures from all 7 adjacent property owners, indicating that they have no objection to the proposed rezoning. The Vasquez's plan to improve the park by removing older mobile homes and replacing them with newer units. The rezoning request is consistent with 2 of the housing goals in the city's comprehensive plan by encouraging the development of a wide range of housing options, particularly for moderate and low-income residents, and by providing opportunities for well-managed mobile home parks. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on March 23rd, during which no public comment was received in opposition to the request. Following the hearing, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the rezoning. This evening, I'm requesting action on 2 items. The first would be to give reading to ordinance number 1889, which would update the zoning district boundaries. And 2, to set a public hearing for April 7th, 2026 at 5:45 PM. And if approved, a public notice would be sent to the 7 adjacent property owners, and a notice would be published in the newspaper. All interested parties are welcome to attend the public hearing and may also contact me at City Hall with any questions or comments. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Emmeline. Are there questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Okay, great. Then we do need to take some action on this. The first one would be giving the first reading to ordinance 1889. Is there a commissioner that would give that first reading?
Emmeline, just to clarify, is this going to be split into 2 or is it 1?
Can we do it in one?
You're able to do them together
Okay.
if you'd like. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I would give first reading to ordinance number 1889 and make a motion to set an April 7th, 2026, 5:45 PM public hearing for the rezoning in blocks 14 through 16, Greeley and Sharps addition as presented.
I second.
Okay. That's what we needed, so you'll come
We
back
need to
then?
do roll call with a first and second.
Is that a motion then? So,
Yeah.
okay. Then, yes, are there any further comments then? I thought we were taking it together, so, okay. All right, then, please call the roll if there's no more comments.
Okay. Commissioner Heisinger?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Lurset?
Aye.
Reitzel?
Aye.
Mayor Harding?
Aye, motion carried. Okay, thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item then is the introduction of the plat of lots 3B through 31, or 3I, Walmart addition in the Grice Properties LLC. And Emmeline will bring us up date again.
Thank you. Yes, I'm providing an introduction to this plat request this evening. The subject property is located on the west side of Lowell Avenue behind Walmart and is zoned local business. Chad Grease is proposing to replat the remainder of Lot 3 of Walmart Addition into 8 lots. He proposes to construct a 36-foot by 48-foot storage unit on each of the lots. Lots 3B through 3H are approximately 6,483 square feet each, and Lot 3I is approximately 17,300 square feet. That's the lot furthest on the north. Mr. Grease has submitted a site layout showing the location of water and sewer services from the city's water and sewer mains in Lowell Avenue. The site plan also identifies the building locations and where they will be on each lot, demonstrating that they'll meet the required setbacks. Mr. Grease is serving as the developer for the project and will install utilities to all the lots at one time. And storage units are a permitted use in local business zoning district, and the proposed buildings are under 4,000 square feet. The Planning Commission met on March 24th, and at that meeting, they recommended approval of the replat. And again, tonight's item is just an introduction only and will be brought back next week for final action. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Emmeline. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners? Okay, thank you, Emmeline.
Thank you.
There's no action required, so that's what we needed. Okay, the next item is the Elizabeth Street update. And I'd just like to start off by thanking City Administrator Christy Honeywell, Commissioner Jamie Heisinger, City Engineer Nick Waters, and Staff Engineer Scott Schweitzer for the work that they've done on this project from the very start of this to get to this point. They've really wanted to make sure that all the partner agencies were contacted, talked to some of the adjacent landowners, and wanted to get all the facts together before we got to this point so that we knew what we could answer everyone's questions. So just to be clear, I just want to give a little recap here. There's two separate projects on Elizabeth Street. One is the South Dakota Department of Transportation is widening Elizabeth Street between Euclid and Grand. Okay, not the city. The city is not widening Elizabeth Street. The city's portion is to enhance the corner of Grand and Elizabeth for safety for the public and to comply with the Federal American with Disabilities Act. Scott will go into that more detail in just a bit here. This is only an update for information. It is not a public hearing. There have been some citizens coming tonight to the public comment period, as you did tonight, and we appreciate hearing all of your concerns, and glad that you came and let us know your thoughts on that. So after this update, I do encourage everyone that came tonight at the public comment period to contact the city and to arrange a meeting with city staff if they have further questions after this update. So thank you for everyone for their patience as the city got together all of the facts for this process, and so we can get to this point. So I'm going to go ahead and let Scott talk about the project. Welcome, Scott.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I've been asked to just update on this process, and Mr. Geegan was right. We started these conversations last summer as we discovered basically noticing that he had been putting in his irrigation and didn't want him to go too far with the state project coming through. So the conversation about this corner started about then, and I've just been asked to bring the information forward, what we've done to date, and probably dispel some of the disinformation maybe that's been running around. We hear some things back that aren't necessarily true and aren't necessarily part of what we've done. So just real quick, there's really four main parts of this. We want to do an overview of the city-initiated curb project, which is really just the end within the Grand Avenue right-of-way, which started as a necessary ADA improvement. Clarification of our relationship to the DOT project. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. It's been running for over a year now. It's the Highway 14 or the Euclid project. It's been renamed to South Dakota Highway 1889, but it is still the US 14 project by reference. And then a summary, part of this involves future work. So a summary of the 2026 work, that would be the city's work, the DOT's work, and then also a summary of our 2027 work, that'll be city work only. And then briefly a response to public comments that we've received on the end. Excuse me. So background of the project and the context of which this is being constructed. Elizabeth Street is a City of Pierre collector, and it's route number 31 in our documents. It was functionally narrowed in the 60s. There was action taken to adjust the boulevard, did not adjust the right-of-way. So at that time, we really couldn't find any dialogue in the records. We did find the action that occurred. It creates difficulties obviously now because we're back here having to widen this section out. And as pursuant to that, we're having to widen it not where it originally was, in the center of the old right-of-way. And it also creates a disability meeting our PRO-AG requirements, which are our accessibility recommendations for wheelchairs, blind folks, everything in the ADA is kind of directed under PRO-AG. So I did mention the 65 ordinance number 750, read that the city was to place the property line edge of the sidewalk 11 feet from the face of the curb, but it did not dictate where the curb was. It did not dictate where the sidewalk was. All it said was to maintain that width. So that has subsequently been changed and rewritten into Appendix E of the engineering documents. We moved all of those curb recommendations, or excuse me, sidewalk recommendations to Appendix E of the engineering standards and have adopted that in the last few months. That 65 ordinance predated the current sidewalk ordinance, so we can't reference current sidewalk ordinance to know where that should have been in place at the time. So we're just kind of stuck with, they did something that didn't define very well what they wanted to do, and we're back here reconstructing what once had been. As part of this process, the right-of-way on Elizabeth or Grand has not been modified in any way. The DOT, as discussed earlier, is reconstructing Elizabeth Street east of Grand Avenue. And when I say east of Grand Avenue, it starts within a few feet of the right edge, or the east edge of the Grand Avenue right-of-way. And they're coming back with about a 38-foot back of curb to back of curb street section. There's been questions about that width. That width is built. It is 3 11-foot lanes and 2 runs of curb. That is the minimum width for 3 lanes that we can put in there. So that's the width they're building. It's actually 38.34 feet is what's going back to cover that 3-lane build. The existing 31-foot section, again, could not find record on it. The surveyor's records from the time did not indicate that they went back and did the work as recommended in council. Could not find that, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. But they did not leave room for the 3 lanes, and it did not have parking lanes then, and it will not have parking lanes now. And then the purpose for the city improvements, basically continuity of the street section. Again, it's a collector, so we're trying to move people through town on a collector, get them from the local streets and get them to the arterials, the larger highways. So this is dedicated, again, as collector route number 31. And we want to maintain that as a collector and get it moving traffic at the pace it should be. Our guidance for construction is the MUTCD, it's the traffic control manual. That is required to be used by the states as of 2025, that's nationwide. Most municipalities use MUTCD as their guidance. It just keeps signage consistent throughout the country. There are some out there that do not. I've never worked in one that doesn't, but most municipalities use this document. And then on top of that, the AASHTO, American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, governs a lot of the geometries of this, like required street widths, where you have parking, where you don't, curves, everything basically in building the street or a road is in the AASHTO standards. Again, not municipally adopted, but generally used countrywide. Slide, please. Talking about the scope of the city's improvements, and you see a graphic there. It's a crude rendering, if you will, of what we are trying to do at that intersection. This is facing west. So replacement of the curb and gutter largely is being done under the DOT contract up to within a few feet of the Grand Avenue right-of-way. We will be required to go in when we improve the remainder of Elizabeth or Grand on that corner. Whenever we do that, we would have to install the ProAg compliant guidelines for ADA. We need to replace, obviously we're rebuilding the street, replacing the sidewalk panels. DOT is replacing sidewalk panels up to that point. We would like to tie to that. And the purpose is to enhance the pedestrian safety. And while I know we hear that this project will be a detriment to pedestrian safety, we need to get pedestrians out of the line of traffic, in my opinion. And again, all work is completed in the city, within the city right of way to do this. Slide, please. Jump to regulations and relationship with the DOT project. So again, the DOT project terminates before it enters the Grand Avenue right-of-way line. So the DOT was not required to do the quadrant for accessibility. So they were not required to. They also, there's a point here, they did have 106 consultation on their entire project, which is in the National Historic Preservation Act. All of that was authorized. Underneath that review, they also get checked on the state SDCL law that was referenced a few times tonight in Chapter 119A. So the DOT's project doesn't trigger improvement of that corner. The city's project would, because we have a reconstruct scheduled for Elizabeth fall in 27. And there's a legal proceeding, Kinney versus Jerusalem is what's generally considered when they made this choice, but the initial laws or rules for ADA compliance basically said anytime you work on a street, somebody had to figure out what that meant. This was the court case that they decided to draw the line at basically a rebuild. Once we've reestablished the use and the function of it, that is the point where we have to apply ADA standards, not a chip seal, not just a standard replacement or a pothole fill. So under the Section 106 review is what we talked about, the DOT project. That is brought in when there is federal funding, and that excuse me, that permit is required when there's federal funding. Our city project is not federally funded, so we do not have to follow 106 review. We did submit, as mentioned before, to the State Historical Preservation Office. It had been requested by the city's Historical Preservation Committee. There were some discussions, again, as mentioned, about whether or not that was a choice or something that we really wanted to do. So we made sure to find out we were following the law, which unfortunately is ambiguous. We did submit as requested. And as of today, we got concurrence from the State Historical Preservation Office to proceed with the project. The reasons we did not think we were really subject to the state law is There's no, in the document that lists everything included in the historic district, there are no public local or public state classifications in that document. So none of the public properties are included in the historic district, which indicated to me that we would not be disturbing a historic property. The historic functions in that district include domestic, landscape, and recreation. None of the historic functions are transportation, sidewalks, pedestrian. And then also there are subcategories within the district that include single dwellings, secondary structures, walls, multiple dwellings, hotels, and outdoor recreation. Again, no lists of streets, sidewalks, curbs. So I didn't believe we met the threshold for having to submit for a request. We did submit for a request. It was authorized. The way I read it, it was authorized as a review under Section 106, which includes the state law also. So we've been reviewed under both rules, and we've been authorized to proceed. Now, the picture is just a return on the same intersection. Work limits, next slide, please. Work limits, this slide just is a plan view. Many people aren't accustomed to seeing this. Some people really like to see this. A couple things to note, I'm showing in the red on the right where it isn't tapered. That is the 38-foot back of curb to back of curb section that the DOT has designed currently to put in place. All of that in solid red is what the DOT was planning to do. Our intent was to remove that abrupt transition, which is the bump out that we've affectionately called it, and then which provides a consistent alignment for vehicles. There are some conversations about pedestrians, and again, I would disagree with the aspect of leaving pedestrians perched in that lane of traffic, low traction conditions, low visibility conditions, somebody come over top of where we right now are telling people to stand is in the traffic a block away. So the solid red is the DOT planned work. That was authorized in 19, I believe, to be constructed. The blue solid work is the curb line that we would want to put in as a function of this project. You can see it's just a simple shift of the angle. Oddly enough, it matches the angle on the north side that the DOT was going to put in. We wouldn't be asking to change anything on the north curb, only this portion of the south curb that would get us a minimum of the 38-foot traffic width running through this intersection. So the coordination of this work, next slide, 2026, the DOT is scheduled to complete the highway project this end of this summer. The city is scheduled and is actively working to install new water main on Elizabeth, which wasn't there before, from Euclid to Grand. That water main wasn't in there before. We had that modeled. We asked for an 8-inch connector between there. The modeling consultant came back and said, really, we could use a 12-inch in there to increase flows to the western side of Pierre. So it'll increase and duplicate the connections that we have between our storage tanks and where they're receiving the water on the west side. We've got some flow issues this will assist with. We also have scheduled for 26 the curb and gutter replacement on Elizabeth from Grand to Central. That is a scheduled project. There's, say, a couple hundred feet of curb that's in the general replacement, which we normally do prior to a major reconstruct. So 2027, the city will pick up the water main that we're putting underneath Elizabeth from Euclid to Grand, pick up that work, and we're going to run that main from Grand to Central, I believe. Yes. Again, improves the potable water flow to that side of town. The city then will perform their own reconstruction on the street following our normal project levels. We got curb done in 26, go to 27 for the water main. After that, we'll reconstruct the street completely. That has been questioned as to whether or not it was necessary. It had an overlay recently. It still has a PCI, pavement condition index of 50. We try to keep our collectors above 70. So it's behind for maintenance, it's ready to go, we have to do the reconstruct. Benefits of the project, again, enhanced pedestrian safety, enhanced vehicle safety, and the ADA compliance that we are required to do. There is some consideration for whether or not we are rushing, and the only state of rush is we would like to tie this in, get the work done while the DOT has their traffic control in place, and share that work with them at the same time. We've had discussions, we can be scheduled to do our work inside of the timeline that the street was going to be closed for the highway project anyway. So it saves us traffic control, saves us from shutting the road down twice, saves us from going and tearing out new curb and putting in new curb beside it. Cost savings, traffic control is a big issue. We can readily spend $5,000 to $10,000 on a lane closure, which is going to be as much as the curb and asphalt is going to cost to make this adjustment. Slide on public comments and city responses. We did have four officially, not officially, but four written requests as to what was considered. The first one being, can we extend the green light interval at Euclid? Again, we refer back to the MUTCD, and those green intervals are very scripted to the traffic counts. So changing a green interval isn't as simple as just saying we want a longer green interval. It has to be warranted within the MUTCD to adjust those times. There was a request to install four-way stop on Grand and Elizabeth. This is counter to recommendations from NUTCD, and I have a quote there from a section stating yield or stop signs shall not be used for speed control. Every conversation here has been speed control. This is not the appropriate method for lowering speed. And then per MUTCD, again, the lower classification road, the local road Grand, gets the stop condition. The higher classification road, the collector, Elizabeth, gets the through on here. Can we just stick to the original DOT plan? If we go to improve Elizabeth, we must comply to ADA. We cannot simply sit on the existing DOT plan. There are very difficult connection points for pedestrians through the ramps to a offset intersection. So I don't even know that we could comply to the rules if we wanted to try to put a ramp system on the end of this particular section. And that bottleneck, if you see it, if you drive it, it already gives a head-on condition occasionally, and we really want to avoid that head-to-head condition in any state possible. And there was a request to consider a hybrid of the DOT's plan and the city's plan. Currently, we're looking at what we have proposed as the least impact to the area. If we were to adjust this in any way to the west, we would then have to move up to the north curb line and do some improvements on the north curb line also. So in this case, we actually got a little bit lucky in that a lot of this transition is chewed up in the intersection proper, and we have to take care of the end. Anything we move, we then have to carry our width to the other side and make sure we're keeping our consistent roadway widths. The DOT's approach, that the angle of the curb coming for the tie-in is set by AASHTO. Those are based on speed and based on how wide you are adjusting. So there's really no change to that adjusted taper. And then adjusting, again, I got to go back to ProAg. We really have to meet ProAg, and if we're going to make the changes here and hit the ProAg, we really need to hit the alignment and keep everybody safe at this intersection. There was comments about the DOT bump outs. I would caution comparing these two situations. The DOT's highway doesn't have bump outs, they have recessed parking. So their roadway widths, their shoulders are in the same location, their pedestrians appear to be sitting out, but their pedestrians are in line with parking lanes, not in line with travel lanes. That being the difference. And then I would go to the last slide. There's just two photos that we have, and if anybody knows me, that is not my white Ford pickup parked there or driving there. Those are two oncoming vehicles standing in that boulevard and on that sidewalk, and this is what you're staring down if you're a pedestrian at that point. Think icy conditions, think looking at your cell phone, think forgot what I'm doing. I do not want pedestrians perched out in that drive where they are susceptible to headlong traffic. That is really all I have to offer in general, but I will take whatever questions the commission has.
Okay, Scott, thanks a lot for that presentation. And I guess, are there any commissioners' comments or questions? Commissioner Lurseth, go ahead.
Thank you. Will these slides be available online for the public to reference?
Mayor, yes, we can certainly put them online.
Okay.
No
okay.
issue.
That sounds good. And then I had one other question. If residents call in with questions and concerns and clarifications, will that take the form of like a meeting, or will it be like a one-on-one conversation with an engineer, or how do you, what can they expect if they call in with a question?
If they call in, that'd be with city staff.
Okay, to be seated. Okay.
Yep.
All right. That's all.
Further questions or comments by any of the commissioners? Commissioner Heisinger, go ahead.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate this. There's a lot of work went into that presentation, so appreciate the pictures and all that. I have lived in the Pierre Hill Historic District neighborhood myself, so I truly understand the concerns being raised. I've lived here since 1998, so I've been up there a long time. This project reflects the same kind of curb and gutter improvements we carry out in neighborhoods all across Pierre each year, so this was a little bit of a surprise that there's been this much attention drawn to this, because, we do this work as, essentially routine business improvements every year. All our work is confined to the city's right-of-way. You referenced that. We are not encroaching onto the private property. Our priority is to make the corner of Grand and Elizabeth safer for residents while ensuring ADA compliance and meeting the federal requirements. This work is part of a planned investment to improve infrastructure and safety in the Pierre Hill Historic District neighborhood. As I've been out and about recently, I've had folks asking me, what's going on at Elizabeth? Because people, they're hearing the public comments, but if they don't live there, they don't really know necessarily, they're asking me as a city commissioner, but a lot of them also know I live there, kind of what the heck's going on up there? And I kind of walk them through, where we're at and how we got there. But safety concerns have been continually brought up during the comments we've had from the residents up there. But those last couple photos really bring that home. I mean, that really shows the situation. You're essentially hanging out in traffic, waiting to cross. And and I've, early on in my living up there, it's like, this seems like a terrible, terrible plan, but here we are. But as a neighbor, a friend, a commissioner, I appreciate everyone bringing their concerns forward. Our goal is to do what is best for the residents and continue making long-term investments in our streets, sidewalks, and overall infrastructure here in Pierre. So we just want to do what's right for everybody, for safety, for traffic flow. Just do our job as a city. That is our job, is to do the basic road, water, sewer, curb and gutter, all that stuff. That's what we do here. And
Absolutely.
So appreciate your presentation, and thanks for coming in tonight.
I apologize for some of the stuttering and stammering. I picked up some sort of allergen this afternoon, and it is walking all over me.
Thank you.
All right, further questions or comments? Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. And I don't know if this comes from the my title in my real job is safety coordinator for the school district. But the comment earlier was about the traffic safety committee. And I too went because I knew there was some discussion there. And I wanted to print the minutes because they're in our city website of when we've had traffic safety meetings, and there's the agendas posted and the minutes are all in there. But I noticed in August 1 of last year, there was a note about this project, and there was a list of some concerns from people. Do you know if there was any follow-up on that? Because I haven't seen any.
The lead follow-up, I would say, is building the application to SHPO. That was the request that came out of, you're talking traffic safety, excuse me.
Traffic Safety Committee, there was some, they were aware back in August of '25, and there was some, the four-way stop, and there were some of the same things listed even back then. I just wondered who had followed up on that, and then what information they had gathered.
I would have to check into that, Commissioner. Maybe if we can get together and make sure I know what you're asking for, because I don't have the minutes in front of me. I don't remember specifically that timeline or when that was asked. So, yeah, but absolutely, we can go look.
And then the other, I know you had taken some pictures and drawn some things out, but you were talking about how the curb on the north side is pretty much static. It's even at that intersection with how it's going to be built. Is there parking on the east or the west side of Grand on Elizabeth?
Yes.
Wouldn't that put the westbound traffic face-to-face with parked vehicles?
It almost split with where both sides would be with the improvement. We are transitioning from 4 lanes to 3, certainly. For 2 parking lanes, 2 driving lanes, into 3 driving lanes, no parking lanes. So there is a transition point there, yes.
Okay, because I've worked accidents of people striking parked vehicles there with it that way before. So I know that can be an issue. So and then the MUTCD you've commented on, the fact that it puts all feeder streets into the same package is not your problem or your issue. You're dealing with what you have to deal with. But I find that difficult for the way I look at things. Just being a historic, if the government did that and it puts us in a position where we have to follow those rules, the fact that it can put any type of feeder street into the same basket, I just don't understand that, but that's my own thing. So thank you. I appreciate your work on this.
We can discuss that sometime too. We can pull out the rules and look over the pictures if you want sometime.
All right, thank you.
Riveting stuff.
All right. Further questions or comments by any of the commissioners? All right, thanks again, Scott. Appreciate all of your work on there and your expertise. Appreciate it. Okay, then that concludes our agenda as was published, so we'll go into dialogue and start with Commissioner Reitzel.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 slides tonight. First is a quick one concerning Hillsview Golf Course again. The driving range at Hillsview Golf Course will open March 25th. The golf course itself will open for play on Friday, March 27th. You can visit hillsviewgolf.com for more information on that. And then the next slide that I have is the City of Pierre Parks and Recreation Department, in partnership with the YMCA, is hosting Splash into Spring on March 29th at noon at the Pierre Aquatic Center. This family-friendly event features an underwater egg hunt where kids can dive in and collect colorful eggs, including a chance to find a golden egg for a special prize. Admission is free for YMCA members, or $5 for children and $10 for adults. Families are encouraged to bring waterproof baskets and enjoy an afternoon of fun and making great memories together. Please note that children under the age of 10 must be accompanied by an adult, and children under 7 must have an adult in the water with them. So again, March 29th at noon, Splash into Spring. That is all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson.
No pictures, Mayor, but I just wanted to thank Morris and DOT. We had some questions about some safety last week, and I see that they've addressed some things and had moved some equipment and made it a little bit safer up there for kids crossing. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Lurseth?
I have nothing.
Okay, Commissioner Huizinga?
Thank you, Mayor. One slide. Always like seeing good things happening in Pierre, and the city itself can't really take credit for this, but came by there, the Capitol Lake on Saturday, and just good seeing kids out enjoying Capitol Lake and taking advantage of the opportunities like this. We appreciate Governor Roden for supporting outdoor recreation and helping make experiences like this possible. Prior to his decision to allow fishing on there, you couldn't fish on Capitol Lake. And so Governor Roden opened that up for kids, and there are people, mostly kids, fishing around that lake all the time. So it's great seeing that. Also, a big thank you to Game Fish and Parks for stocking the lake with the fish and creating the fun, hands-on way for kids to get outside, learn something new, and spend time together in our community. And those kids had a bucket, and they had nice trout in it. So it's just great seeing, that quality of life stuff for our young people here in Pierre. So that's all I had, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing tonight. Christie?
Mayor, I have nothing tonight either.
Okay. Lacey?
I do have one item tonight. I just want to let everyone know that 5 PM was the deadline to submit petitions, and we have 2 eligible candidates to sit on the ballot for the June 2nd election for the mayoral race.
Okay, thank you, Lacey. Lindsay from the City Attorney's Office. Okay, then that completes our agenda as it was published, so I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Commissioner Huizinga?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Lurseth?
Aye.
Reitzel?
Aye.
Mayor Harding?
Aye, motion carried, meeting adjourned.